In this review of the week's news, community members are up in arms over a piece of parkland, a seal swims its way up the Kaiapoi River, and just how bad will sea rise be for our coastal properties. This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. A piece of turf in Sydenham has become hot property. The Sikh Society wants to use the land, but local businesses have other ideas. It's been in Sydenham for over 100 years, and now there are plans for a building to make some of this section home. The issue was discussed today at the Christchurch City Council, with the local body considering a land swap with the Sikh Society, with plans for a place of worship to build their new facilities on a section of Buchan Playground. These concept plans show a general idea of the size the group wants to construct. With more members coming on board, they say they need to upsize.
The original site that was there was chosen basically for its locality, being central, and most of the community being sort of around, not just only Sydenham but the around surrounding areas, and the location was predominant to them.
The council adopted the Sydenham Master Plan back in 2012, which has a number of ideas for the green space. Money has been put aside for a redevelopment of the park to make it more appealing for the community and a space for families to use. The previous site was on Wordsworth Street, but their building was lost in the earthquakes. Now they want to swap their location with a section of Buchan Park, with the council helping the society to find the best location. Buchan Playground was their choice.
We are currently drawing up concepts at the moment. As the project manager for not only the Sikh Society, for some of the Christchurch rebuild projects, I'm just helping the community to understand the concepts and how we can deliver this and how it can be used for us as well.
However, a local businessman in Sydenham says they don't want the park being sold for any development on the site.
Inner city public parks are available for all locals and visitors to enjoy. They are not for sale. They should be preserved and enhanced for future generations.
Stewart made a submission to the council through the Sydenham Master Plan and says he'd rather see a redevelopment of the park go ahead, providing a better use for the community, which is outlined in the plan. Another local businessman says more residents are moving back to the area, meaning more people will use the park in the future. He has plans to build an apartment or motel close by, saying it'll be important for locals.
The existing size of the park is just big enough now, and for the future.
And he says the park isn't unutilised and residents will take advantage of the park once it's upgraded.
It may look that way post 22 February 2011, but now it's all happening in Sydenham. We need our park to stay the same size. Bahamra
says they don't have a plan B for their site if the proposal is turned down. The discussion is expected to continue at a full council meeting in the next few weeks. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. A Kaiapoi resident woke up to an unusual surprise this week, a fur seal in his backyard. But just how did it get so far inland? Here's Chelsea Daniels.
A resident of Kaiapoi got an unexpected visitor this morning when a rogue seal turned up in his backyard.
It was just sitting up against the rock. It was so very cold this morning, and it was a very, very high tide, so that could have attracted it too.
And it seems like it's not such a common occurrence.
My neighbour tells me that he has lived there for 42 years and he has never ever seen a seal before.
Murray says that he thinks the seal is a pup and he's been lying out in the sun all morning.
Well, he hasn't been anything else but sleepy at the moment.
And he says that it must be a long way from home for the seal.
I would say it's at least 7 kilometres.
From the sea?
From the sea, yes. He'd have to swim up the Waimak and then into the Kaiapoi River.
Murray has been living here for 5 years, his house and land having been named before he got there, Lazy Acres.
The name was given to it before I arrived there, Lazy Acres.
Well, this young seal pup here is having a bit of a rest after making its way down Kaiapoi River, having a bit of a lazy morning at Lazy Acres. Fitting. Usually it's best to stay away from a wandering seal, but this little guy didn't seem too fazed by our company and just wanted to get on with sleeping. There has been increased sightings of seal pups beaching themselves for a beach bask over the last few months. Although the Department of Conservation says it's not unusual to see the pups on shore from time to time, there have been more cases of seals making their way further afield onto people's beachfront properties. Seals have come ashore into the estuary areas of Red Cliffs, but not as far as today's visitor into inland Kaiapoi. It is advised if a seal is seen to leave it in peace and keep dogs away. Most of the time, a seal will be taking a land snooze before heading back into the water. If they do come into properties and their safety or return journey to the sea is at risk, people are advised to contact the Department of Conservation or local council.
Oh, we've given it a name, Larry, yes.
Larry the lazy seal.
Larry the lazy seal, yes, that's it.
Well, let's hope Larry has a safe journey home. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
The 3 members of the Nepalese family who died in a Waimati fire this week had moved to the town following the Christchurch earthquakes. It was another tragedy for the family, with the 3 surviving sisters still coming to grips with their loss. The small Canterbury community of Waimati, just south of Timaru, are still reeling after a man, his wife and 9-year-old son died in a house fire this morning. The blaze struck in the family's home above their Queen Street restaurant at around 7:45.
Yeah, it's obviously a tragic day for the community, and especially tragic for the family.
Emergency Services says the premises was ablaze when they arrived at the scene, but managed to rescue 3 other family members located on a veranda at the back of the property. They were aged 11, 17 and 21. They're being treated at Timaru Hospital for smoke inhalation and suffered minor injuries, but are in a stable condition. Police say victim support is also involved and are standing by to do whatever they can, but the Mayor says it's a sad day for the small township.
The community's all in shock, obviously. It's not a nice thing to happen, but the big thing now is obviously to support the 3 kids who survived and make sure that they're well looked after.
The Nepalese family moved to Waimati shortly after the Christchurch earthquakes, when their business in the city was severely damaged. They've been operating the Everest Indian restaurant for the past 18 months or so, with Rowley saying he knew the family personally.
I actually own a business next door to them, so I know them and I've spoken to them sort of numerous times and that. So, yeah, we do know them reasonably well.
And it's something Rowley says he hasn't witnessed since he's been mayor of the town.
Nothing to this extent. You know, it's particularly a tragedy and that sort of thing, but no, it's certainly not something that we've had a lot of experience with before.
The cause of the blaze is yet to be determined, but the fire service believes it was an accident. The Mayor says the focus now is to support the family, with him setting up a mural donation fund for the 3 rescued children.
And I believe that the Nepalese community are getting right in behind them to support them as much as possible. I have started up a mural sort of support fund, so anybody that wants to make a donation to the family and look after the kids, they can do so at any branch of the ANZ, and it's just under the Everest Mural Support Fund. So and we've had a lot of locals already ringing and offering assistance and help, and I believe there's some donations going into that account as we speak.
The area is still cordoned off until the investigations are completed. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Still to come, residents respond to the council's report on sea rise. Welcome back. It was one of the first hospitality hubs built after the earthquakes. And 1 year on, Strangers Lane is still waiting for the CBD to return. But for the time being, they're celebrating by giving to charity. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Strangers Lane is gearing up for its first birthday this weekend, but they're not just making it all about themselves.
It's our first birthday that we opened up on August 8th last year, so we're planning a nice, fun, exciting weekend. We've got all the business we have. We have our burger eating contest from the Lower Mount Diner. We've got bands. We've got DJs in both Strange & Co. and Orleans. We have a special menu in Orleans for a celebration. We're doing a special cocktail as well that we're donating all the proceeds from that cocktail to charity.
The proceeds will go to the Canterbury Earthquake Children's Trust, a charity that gives hardship and school scholarships to children who lost their parents in the Canterbury quakes.
We were looking at different charities. It was all the senior staff, and we said, what's something that's good that we don't really hear much about, as opposed to some of these other bigger charities, and we thought that was a good thing to go with.
The team will be serving up a specially formulated cocktail named Jerry's Bulldog, with all proceeds from the drink made on Saturday night going to the charity.
We're using Solar Jerry's rum and Bulldog because they're known for their tenacity, and that's just the tenacity of what Canterbury's had to go through from all this time in our first year thing. So and it's a nice chocolatey coffee style drink. And it's fluffy and light, and hopefully we'll sell a lot of them to give the money to the charity.
The Strangers Lane team has seen a successful year, but it hasn't been without its challenges.
Same thing that everyone else has had to overcome. There's been traffic issues. There's been, the buildings coming up. I mean, right now you might be able to feel that little vibration from them driving in piles in the buildings behind us. So I mean, there's all these little things that really aren't at the end of the day from what we've had to go through to what we're going through now. They're good problems to have. So and that's just the way we've been looking at it. I mean, when the roads have been closed all around us, and basically the only way we could get here is walk down a small path that was lined with cones, that was bad. But at the same time, it wasn't that bad because people still found us, and it was good. And I'm like, oh, look at this nice place, and all this amid of all this, rubble.
But all in all, Rick says they're in it for the long run.
It's one of those things where you always like a challenge, and being one of the first businesses into the central area is always going to be a challenge. I think we've overcome being kind of isolated, and now as more and more stuff gets put up around us, then it's it becomes more of a central location for us, and it's bringing more people back to the city, which is always what we wanted to do.
He says they're hoping to establish themselves as a local joint to grab a drink or a bite to eat.
Our view on these things, we want to be like your neighborhood local, even though there's not really any housing around here at the moment.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet, but we will get there one day, I'm sure.
And with the new apartments being constructed nearby in the CBD's new eastern frame, Rick's dream just may well become a reality. The apartments will form most of the eastern frame anchor project, with Fletcher's recently being chosen by the government for their build. Their design has been criticised by some for being higher end and not affordable, but once tenanted, they are set to bring the first new accommodation hub back to the city centre. And this is something which local hospitality businesses will benefit from. But they'll have to wait a year or more before the new apartments are built. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
How will sea level rises affect property values? More than 18,000 coastal properties are under threat, according to a recent report from the Christchurch City Council. And now a group of homeowners want the council to plan ahead before it's too late. An urgent meeting was held today at the Christchurch City Council with one New Brighton commercial property owner concerned about the Coastal Hazards Assessment report released to the public last month. The document is in its third stage under the district plan, where many areas of coastal Christchurch and Banks Peninsula would see coastal erosion over the next 50 to 100 years. The council has been holding public meetings over the last month, informing affected residents. New Brighton is one of the areas that would face coastal erosion and sea level problems in the future, and locals are concerned about property values declining. And a property owner from the struggling suburb says urgent action is needed.
I mean, initially we hoped to get the submissions process delayed because we have about a 4-week period to put submissions in on a very, very complex matter. We're dealing with coastal science, erosion of the sand dunes, and takes a lot longer than 4 weeks to get this together.
Munro established the New Brighton Revitalisation Task Force nearly 15 years ago, designed to work with the council to develop a master plan for the area. The Christchurch City Council has put up a property search finder on their website to give residents a better indication of the effects to their homes or businesses. These diagrams show the areas the City Council have been informed on, parts of eastern Christchurch around to Littleton, Banks Peninsula and Akaroa.
Council have advised us that to help people with submissions there'll be a submit a friend, and they'll probably put a link on their website so people can actually find out who that is and talk to them.
Now he wants to see the council extend the public consultation period of the document for a further 8 weeks to give the estimated 18,000 affected homeowners time to understand both the value and insurance implications in the future.
The flooding zone goes out near to Jade Stadium and the Palms shopping centre. A lot of those people probably don't realise it and may not get time to put in submissions.
He says his concerns needed to be brought to the council's attention before the submissions close next month.
We'll put together a joint submission with joint legal advice and coastal science advice. My concern is once it's accepted, you can really only go up. I mean, whether you accept a metre and a quarter of sea level rise and whatever effects that will be, the next time a recommendation comes in that says 2 metres, the flood lines start creeping in very close to the CBD, which they're close to now.
At this stage, it's likely the public consultation session will close up on September 5th. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. On the back of the FIFA and World Cup cricket events, Christchurch City councillors are hoping the city will continue to be a draw card for other sporting events.
The tall Ferns and the national Japanese women's basketball team received a warm welcome to Christchurch. Mayor Leanne Dalzell was there to support the girls, as well as an array of city councillors. And Councillor Yanni Johansson is proud to have Christchurch yet again on the sporting map.
I think the relationship between Christchurch and Japan is actually a very proud relationship. It goes back many decades, and I think having a sporting event of the calibre that we have is wonderful. It's wonderful for the city to be able to host the teams. It's also wonderful for people to be able to go and see world-class basketball being played in Christchurch.
He says that it's a great opportunity for Christchurch to show its versatility in hosting big sporting events following a successful FIFA Under-20s World Cup in June.
The really important thing is that, as was acknowledged today, that teams that come from abroad, and particularly Japan, who know only too well what the impact of tsunami and earthquakes are on cities, actually to come and experience Christchurch at this unique time in our history is also really important for telling our story to the rest of the world.
The Tall Ferns ended their William Jones Cup campaign on a high, where they sealed a 79-54 win over an American select team in Taiwan. Coach Kennedy Kariyama says that the team's latest tour was an overall good experience.
Look, we've been building each game, and obviously great to knock off a US invitational team. Not the Team USA, obviously, but still nonetheless a win against a quality team internationally. So, yeah, for us it was just about building and learning our systems and structure. It's a relatively new team.
The team prepares themselves for a 3-game series against Japan this week.
Well, right now we just landed yesterday, so today's a recovery day for us. I guess going out and meeting with dignitaries and the council. But for us, really, the focus is still in Australia, and we'll be playing against the Japanese as if they were the Australian team. So we're still learning that, I guess, customising ourselves to how we're going to play against Australia. So again, to play Japan, it might not be necessarily the best way to beat them, but for us it's just about mentally preparing.
And Coach Kennedy is confident that the girls will win against Japan.
It was the same when we went away to Taiwan, and obviously we had some mixed results over there, but again we got better at it as every game wore on, and I believe probably now if we can be consistent with our systems and structures, I believe we can beat Japan in all 3 games.
The girls then travel international and land in Oz for the FIBA Oceania series against Australia, in Melbourne on August 15th and Taronga August 17th, with the winner qualifying for the Rio Olympic Games.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be the coach if I didn't have if I didn't believe they could beat Australia. But absolutely, the girls are full of a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm, and again, we're slowly building towards that. That is our goal, and that's what we're focused on right now. There are other procedures, there are other events in place on the off chance we don't, but we're just taking every day as it comes, and obviously we're very happy with our preparation so far.
The Tall Ferns versus Japan games will be played in Christchurch tomorrow and Friday, with the final test held in Ashburton on Sunday. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Still to come, workers come out in solidarity to raise attention about safety. Welcome back. It's a timely reminder. Families of workers who have been killed on the job came out in solidarity this week. They say new workplace rules have been watered down and now demanding action. A 1-minute silent vigil for the New Zealanders who lost their lives through workplace accidents. Demonstrations like this at the former Crown Plaza site have been taking place around the country today, with 291 crosses representing a person who has been killed in the workplace since 2010. Drew Kelly was there remembering his best friend, 40-year-old Brad Fletcher, who was killed when the scissor lift he was operating toppled over at Littleton Port.
It's hard. I lost a friend, and the community lost a legend, really. He was a really good guy.
He knew Fletcher for years and says it's still raw for him and Brad's family 1 year on from the accident.
I was physically sick. I didn't believe it. And to be honest, I still don't really believe it now. I expect him to come walking through the door, bounding in like he used to.
2 of these crosses also represent the other workers who were killed at the port around the same time as Fletcher, with the company admitting a charge of failing to take all practical steps to make sure all staff members were safe at all times. The Littleton Port of Christchurch is set to be sentenced this Thursday in court. The Health and Safety Reform Bill passed its second reading in Parliament last month, with changes to the way health and safety is implemented in the workplace. Some of the changes include removing worker-elected health and safety representatives from smaller businesses that employ 20 people or less. However, a representative from the trade union EPMU hopes demonstrations like this will help get the message across.
We're trying to send a very strong message to the government, primarily, around the fact that they shouldn't be watering down new health and safety legislation, and it's about health and safety and saving, making sure that people get home at the end of the day.
He says many workplaces in New Zealand are made up of small to medium-sized organisations, and the government should be more focused on this area.
It's phenomenal, isn't it, when you think about it? It's just totally unacceptable on all levels, especially in a country like New Zealand, where we pride ourselves on being a fair and decent society and having good laws. And yet we're killing that many people in our workplaces, so it's just unacceptable.
The trade union wants to show awareness to the public about the extent of workplace incidents, where many are fatal and can be avoided.
You know, that old Kiwi thing about she'll be right, mate, and it was just bad luck. When it comes to health and safety, there should be no bad luck. And workers deserve the best protection that they can have in workplaces. And we've got to stop this.
It's not about putting somebody in there just to get the job done. It's not about that. It's gone beyond that now.
Now it's up to the government to decide the next steps, with voting towards the final reading of the bill expected in the near future. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Nearly full suppression has been granted for a teenager charged with murdering an elderly man in Riccarton 2 weeks ago. Police are continuing to search for clues around the man's home and further afield.
The teenager charged with murdering an elderly man in Riccarton yesterday was known to the victim, police say. The 16-year-old was charged in the youth court today with murdering the man who was aged in his late 80s. All information about the case and the accused has been suppressed, except for his age. Police say the victim had apparently let the teenager into his house and that the two knew each other. The victim had lived alone in his Upper Riccarton house for many years. Police had visited him the day before his death, after he complained he had been targeted by thieves over the last week. Police say there had been nothing to suspect the man was in any danger. The man was found dead on Sunday after a group of teenagers found him. It is understood the group were visiting the man and were concerned for his safety when he didn't come to the door. Police are continuing to investigate and the accused will appear in the High Court in Christchurch later this month.
And that's CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a fantastic weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.